Have you ever seen a real hologram? It's one of those things that just seems to defy reality. A flat, two-dimensional piece of film that somehow stores and then recreates an entire three-dimensional scene. It's not just a trick of the light. It's like it's completely rebuilding the light itself. So let's dive in and really unpack the physics behind this incredible illusion.
And it seriously does feel like magic. When you look at one, every single part of your brain is screaming that there is a real, solid object sitting right there in front of you. You can move your head, see different angles, watch the light glint off its surfaces, but it's not there. It's all an illusion, like a ghost made of pure light, all coming from a simple piece of film.
So that really gets us to the central mystery, doesn't it? Just stop and think about the sheer amount of information we're talking about. A normal photograph that captures a scene from one single perspective, one snapshot. A hologram captures all of them. So how is that even possible? How can a flat surface hold that much data?
All right, Section 1, a window into another world. To start, the absolute best way to think about a hologram isn't as a picture, but as a window. When you look through it, you're not seeing an image on the glass. You're seeing a recorded scene behind the glass, as if it were still right there. And this idea has actually been around for a while. A physicist named Dennis Gabor had the core insight way back in 1947. But here's the thing, he was way ahead of his time. The key piece of technology he needed, the laser, hadn't even been invented yet. It wasn't until the 60s that we got the kind of pure, coherent light that was required to make his theory a reality. And for that groundbreaking idea, Gabor eventually won a Nobel Prize. Okay, so to really understand what's going on, we need to draw a really clear line between a simple photograph and a hologram. What's the extra information that the hologram is capturing that a photo just completely throws away? Well, here's the key difference. A photograph just records brightness, what we call amplitude, from a single point of view. It's a snapshot. A hologram, though, is way more ambitious. It aims to capture the entire light field. That's all the light waves bouncing around a scene from every possible direction. And to do that, it needs to record a whole other dimension of information that photos just ignore. So Section 3, the secret of light's phase. That something else is the secret ingredient. It's a property of light that our eyes can't see and normal cameras can't record. It's called phase. Just think of light as a simple wave. The height of that wave, its amplitude, tells you how bright it is. That's what a camera sensor records. But the wave also has a phase. Is it at a peak, a trough, or somewhere in between at a specific moment? Normal film is completely blind to this. It just averages out the intensity over time, and all that crucial phase information is just lost forever. So this is the fundamental challenge that Gabor had to solve. If your recording medium is fundamentally blind to phase, how do you trick it into seeing it? How do you encode that invisible information into a visible pattern of light and dark? The solution is absolutely brilliant. You use a second beam of light, called a reference wave. So you shine one beam on your object, and that light, the object wave, bounces onto the film. But at the same time, you shine that clean reference wave directly onto the film. Where the two waves arrive in phase, they add up, creating a bright spot. Where they arrive out of phase, they cancel out, creating a dark spot. And just like that, you've tricked the film into seeing phase. The invisible phase information from the object is now encoded as a visible pattern of light and dark interference fringes. Okay, Section 4, blueprint of a single point. This can get complicated fast, I know. So let's do what scientists love to do. Simplify the problem down to its absolute bare essentials. Instead of a whole complex scene, let's just figure out how we'd record a hologram of a single tiny point of light. The thinking is, if we can crack how to record and then recreate the light from a single point, we can basically understand the whole process. So we'll think of the light from this one little point as our simplified object wave.
So when this spherical light wave from our single point interferes with the flat reference wave, it creates this beautiful, specific pattern on the film, a series of concentric rings, kind of like a bullseye. This pattern has a name. It's a Fresnel zone plate, and the really precise spacing of its rings encodes the exact 3D position of our original point of light.
Okay, so we have our recording, this strange bullseye pattern. Now for the magic part. We take the original object away completely, and we just shine the reference beam back through this film. How on earth does a pattern of circles turn back into the illusion of a floating point of light?
The answer lies in a wonderful property of waves called diffraction. Essentially, our zone plate now acts like a custom-made microscopic lens. When light passes through these tiny rings, it gets bent in a very specific, predictable way. So,
If you were to zoom way in on any part of our bullseye pattern, the curved rings would start to look like a series of parallel lines. This is known as a diffraction grating. When light passes through a grating, it bends. And here's the key part. The tighter the lines are spaced, the more the light bends. Since our zone plate has rings that get closer together as you move outwards, it acts like a custom lens. It bends light from every part of the film at just the right angle to perfectly reconstruct the light waves from our original point, making it appear in the exact same spot it was before. It's amazing.
All right, section 5, rebuilding reality from light. Okay, we understand a single point. Now let's scale this whole thing up and see how it works for a real object. We've laid the foundation. Now it's time to reconstruct reality.
A real object, like a toy or a sculpture, you can just think of it as a huge collection of billions of individual points of light. And every single one of those points creates its own unique Fresnel zone plate on the film. So the final hologram isn't one simple pattern. It's the mind-bogglingly complex superposition of all of those patterns overlapping.
And that gives you a hint at the incredible technical challenge here. To capture those microscopic interference fringes, the film needs an insane level of detail. Standard photographic film won't even come close. We're talking about a resolution of over 5,000 lines per millimeter. You need that kind of detail to record the subtle phase information from every single angle. Now, when we shine the reference beam back through this complex pattern, it's not quite perfect magic. The physics of diffraction actually produces 3 separate waves. First, you get the one we want, a perfect recreation of the original object wave, which creates the illusion. Second, you get some of the reference beam just passing straight through. And third, you get this weird artifact called the conjugate wave, which is a distorted, real image that can get in the way.
So, the crucial trick for making a practical, clear hologram is this. Instead of shining the reference beam straight on, you record and reconstruct it from an angle. This simple geometric trick causes those 3 different waves to travel in different directions, physically separating them in space. That way, you can look directly at the reconstructed object wave without the other 2 getting in your way.
And that's how it works. By encoding the invisible property of light's phase into a physical pattern, a flat piece of film can be turned into a window onto a recorded reality. It's a process that truly blurs the line between what's real and what's a reconstruction. Which kind of leaves you with one final thought. If the laws of physics allow a simple 2D surface to store and recreate a 3D world so convincingly, what other mind-bending illusions might be just waiting out there for us to discover?